Hello and welcome to this fresh episode of Point Counterpoint, a weekly debate show where we discuss and deep dive into issues of importance of Goa. But today our focus is a little more on the capital of Goa, which is supposed to be the showpiece for Goa's development infrastructure. And obviously it's a gateway to Goa and a source of our pride, or it should have been at least. We are here to discuss a project which has actually become a meme. It's called the Smart City project, and rather than that being a project of great pride and development for the city of Panjim, for this little town of Panjim actually, which has grown humongously, it has actually become the Smart City has actually become a moniker and a subject of ridicule to a lot of people. And we say this not because we want to bring down or we want to criticize any political party or dispensation. One says this with a lot of hurt and sadness, because there was so much that could have been done and there is so little which is seen on the ground. While the two words smart and city are small words and tiny words, their nature and the gamut of the problems are both vast and deep. The Smart City project, when it was envisaged, it was obviously a project of which cost a lot of money. It was over 1,500 crores, whittled down to about 978 odd crores after that. And much like the development that has happened in the rest of the world, the Smart City project was supposed to be a project which would completely change the infrastructure, sustainability, quality of life, transportation, mobility, drainage, sewerage, and what have you. Maybe 7 years down the line, we look back with a lot of sadness, as I said, with a lot of failure which is seen on the ground, and at the same time, one obviously sees the hidden hand of corruption, which is the elephant in the room, which has ultimately taken over the entire room. Along with the Smart City project, one will look into the overall development or the lack of it of Panjim, and how politics and the lust for power and greed has dominated not just the Smart City project, but the city itself. I have with me an excellent a panel of speakers who are stakeholders of Panjim, but bigger stakeholders of Goa as such. On my right is K.V. Chandran, who's a retired civil engineer. He was with the Soil Conservation Department and the PWD for a long time, and is credited for doing phenomenal work to literally end flooding in Diwar, but he'll know a thing or two about some of the issues that we are speaking of. Arman Gonzalez, the founder, chairman of Goa for Giving, wears many hats. This is not his only hat. He's been a very passionate stakeholder of Goa and Panjim in particular, and has worked extensively towards ensuring that Panjim becomes a better space and a better place to live through various movements, agitations and initiatives that he has taken. On my left is Sanjay Barde, though he has a political hat and he currently belongs to the Congress, earlier with the NCP, but he is known more as a street level activist, essentially articulating his views on a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about today. And on my extreme left is Vishal Rawley, who is a urbanist and environmental activist, but has been very actively involved in the Smart City project, through various verticals. I'll actually start with Vishal and for the first round go from left to right. Vishal, I have no further questions to ask based on what my opening remarks. Could you just give your opening response?
When Smart City project was launched in Panjim, I was particularly skeptical because I had been teaching a course in School of Planning and Architecture, Delhi, and I knew how these things come in. Firstly, the Smart City is a private limited company, so it's not responsible to give any answers to the citizens. You can't find an RTI application, you can't vote them out, unlike your municipal
but
corporation.
It's under the agencies of the Mahua Ministry of Housing and...
Correct. So it is like it's a quasi government body, but yes, it's registered as a private limited company.
Right.
Nevertheless, their mandate was to have a lot of citizen consultation. That was because there was a competition for it, and Panjim and the citizens, they participated with great enthusiasm. They thought this is an opportunity to get their voice in, because the process was like that, and we all gave in a lot of suggestions, and we had some hopes that they would go forward. But yeah, as you can see, this is maybe 7 years down the line. Nothing much has come to fruition.
Right.
So that's a big disappointment.
Okay, we'll delve deep into further. Sanjay, but of course, a politician you definitely are. But apart from that, if we can just get an answer to this one question: what really went wrong with the smart city mission? And on the ground, what do you see which is wrong?
It seems completely corruption. In the name of smart city, if you say many ministers from Goa or any elected representative comes in power and he starts to go abroad, out of country, and they are going abroad and saying that as a Panjim city, first time when Manor Parrikar has decided to Panjim should be smart city, and our Honorable Prime Minister of India, he decided that.
No, Sanjay, if you could just stick to one issue here, without digressing. What I wanted to know is that, look, you've seen the monsoons now.
Yeah.
You've seen the flooding in various areas. You've seen the city infrastructure collapsing.
Yeah.
If you could just elaborate on that and what do you see on the ground which troubles you?
See, before previous was the Panjim and now it's Panjim. Previous Panjim was far better. That time no single water of from the gutter to the main road on the road was not floating on the road. At present, if you see, all the roads are completely underwater. Neither water is coming going from the gutter. It's completely comes on the road. So this is the difference.
Okay, I'll come back to you later. Arman, your just a quick response on, see, you've been involved in the consultancy process. You've worked with different governments. You know this close. Just give us a broad picture assessment of where the smart city project has gone.
I would start by saying that the smart city is actually, I don't know whether it's the right comment, but it's more a smart city. That's exactly where we have landed. We have got it all wrong. And critically, if you see the wisdom of Goa through the centuries, Goan people have been smart. They've done things across the globe. But today, within Goa itself, we are alienated. No government, it's not just the current government, but even previous governments have never taken the wisdom of the people of Goa into consideration. Say, for example, you go to IFI. You get consultants from Delhi, you get consultants from Calcutta, you go to the smart city, consultants from outside. In all probably, you'll have a consultant who doesn't understand water problems. When we have good people within Goa, architects, engineers, you name it. So I think the participatory form which this should have taken is not happening. We are all alienated, and successive governments do not want intelligent people in the system, because we are basically run by a government of pygmies, and I would like to say it in a very strong manner. And the intelligent people are outside, desperate. Many of them are traveling abroad and leaving this country, and it's a sad story. It's a very, very sad story. It's lucky that people like us are still here trying to fight it out, and there are good people like in our panel itself who are fighting this battle out. And I hope we can succeed with the help of the media. I think the media has been fantastic. A lot of people say the media is compromised. Media is not compromised, Yuko. I think media has done a fabulous job. A small example is the type of work that we do. We sometimes don't even know how to treat the media properly. We sometimes can't even get a coffee on the table. But the media has been good, has been taking our story. So the participation should be in the media and the people. And that's where we should be going.
But tell me, Aman, when the whole smart city mission started, there were apparently some attempts to talk to people, because I was a part of a couple of meetings where the citizens of Panjim were called, and there were discussions that happened that time. And so I remember in that old Adil Shah Palace, there were consultations done. So what happened to those? In the sense, I remember a lot of very important people who have worked with the city, like all of us who have been part of that whole consultative process. So what happened there? Did it just remain there and nothing really happened out of it?
I really would not know, but I'll just give you a small example of the one project that I was involved amongst the many. But the project of the Kampal Creek.
Yes.
You know, I remember where the various agencies of the government suggested that a person like me or someone from our organization is called for meetings.
Right.
But we were successfully kept outside the whole thought process.
Right.
Yeah. So I personally feel that people have been left aside. It's not just because of me, but I know a lot of other people have been kept aside.
Right.
And definitely it has hit rock.
Mr. Chandra, see, the thing is, I'll get back to a more ground level science and flooding question to you straight away. Okay, because up your creek. See, you know, every year we get this assurances of a modern drainage network and a modern drainage system. Okay, every year the government says that we are going to have excellent drainage for Panjim to solve flooding. We've been hearing this for the past so many years, including the latest mayor who said the same thing. That, you know, we're going to have a world-class program to see that there is the drainage network improves. But the point is, these assurances are almost like flood water. They just flow away. They come and flow away. Now the issue is, why can't we get our drainage system right, and where are we going wrong, because of which our city is getting flooded over and over again?
Mainly it is municipality. Before the rain only, that all drainage systems surrounding Panjim and all this area, it should be removed, all the kacharas and desilted, everything should be removed. And now what they are doing now, they are only rainy season, if it is flooding, there are particular point they go and remove, and it should not be. Now another thing is that high tide water also, it is more than it is previous years and all, because of the climatic change and this one.
Yes.
That also, that drainage, that also comes to the.
So you're saying the high tide water levels have also gone up?
Yeah, gone up very, very high. It is compared to previous years and all.
Correct.
So for that also, government has to take some measures.
Right.
Especially the water resources department and PWD also, exactly municipality, in according to coordinating with them together only they to do.
No, but see, that recently the mayor has said that there is going to be a comprehensive flood prevention and management plan. Okay. Now the issue is that now again this plan has come about when there are existing plans and agencies already working. So I'm just saying, what is the use of these kind of plans? And I'll just pick up on one of the points that you just raised, or how the tide levels have gone up.
Yeah, gone up.
In fact, what is interesting is that there was this agency or a think tank called the India Climate Dialogue, and they were looking at you're aware of the India Climate Dialogue, and where they have actually said that the biggest problem that is facing all the smart cities, including Panjim, these climatic shifts have not been accounted for, and because of these climatic shifts is actually affecting the project. So could you delve a little bit on this, and also at the same time, why is our drainage system not playing its part? The municipality can do desilting, but is our drainage network, has it been modernized? Is it good enough to do it? And can you tell us a little bit about
that? We have to check it out, or we have to set up a committee or the expert panels, including engineers and these things and all. And accordingly, we have to sort out that what further decisions to be taken. That back planning and everything. It is.
But tell us, you have done very good work in Diwar as well, where you have successfully managed to stop floods in Diwar.
Yes, exactly.
Just tell us a little bit about that experience, and maybe some lessons could be learned.
That is mainly because of high tide and low tide. That according comes, this sluice gates, when high tide comes, that is stop that door. It is an automatic system, sluice gate. Then when the low tide comes, that all the water inside the fields and it will come out. It is like that. High tide comes, the doors close automatically, and when the low tide comes inside water, it is to be take it out. But one thing is that when we are auctioning the sluice gate, these contractors, they purposely introduce in the night and all in the water inside. They close the putting something iron rod or something. Then for the mainly that catching fishes and all that illegally is they are doing, which is actually under the power of Mamaldar. He is not. He has to take action for that. And especially for the.
Okay. Vishal, a quick response to my previous question. I'd like to get all of you all into this. This whole, see, one of the biggest issues is our drainage network. If we could delve a little bit on this. Now, the drainage network was earlier completely archaic. Now that needed to be completely changed. But the other issue is that all the different companies are using the drainage ecosystem to put their utilities in. So we are essentially saying is that one of the reasons why this flooding is happening in such a big way is drainage. Now, is it part of the whole smart city project? What is wrong exactly with the drainage system that we have?
Actually, the drainage system earlier, the archaic drainage system was better.
Correct. I mean, archaic I would say ancient rather than archaic.
Yeah. And it has, if you follow the logic of that and you keep those systems well maintained, there will be no trouble.
Right.
Because, that has lasted not for 50 years or 100 years. The system of barns and sluice gates, which we call the Khazan system, which Goa should be very proud about, which is on an epic scale like the pyramids of Egypt. It's like this 500 kilometers of barns still existing in Goa right now, right? So that's a 2,000, 3,000 and maybe older system, right? And that did not work with any smart technology or heavy machinery. Manual labor, using local soil, available materials, and traditional wisdom. And what do? Water finds its own level.
Right.
You let it flow how it flows.
Right.
But now there is construction in those low-lying areas.
Right.
They are squeezing the water of the floodplains and the catchment areas, and that is leaving water no space to go. So no matter how much you upgrade your drainage system, if you're squeezing the natural way of the water,
right,
so the drainage won't be able to ever suffice for that choking that you're causing. Then you cannot update your drainage system. Is not a software update that you just install.
Correct,
it. It's a
correct.
huge job,
Right.
and when it's made, it is made with 50 years planning. Drainage system is not made like for
Right.
2-3 years.
right.
Right. So it's not possible to upgrade. So the smart thing to do is to use the smartness, the ancient wisdom, as Armand had also pointed. The local wisdom is totally ignored. This consultants which are paratrooped from somewhere, and smart city is
Full of consultants.
yeah, it's just, so many have come and met us,
Right.
and we have had so many chais and samosas. As one of my colleagues says, I've had how many chais and samosas, and all our plans and maps and studies have been taken, but there's no action on the ground. And then some arbitrary ad hoc thing happens, like try to build concrete walls, higher concrete walls. That's not going to solve the problem.
How are we going to solve the problem of say, for example, Panjim to Miramar? Panjim to Miramar, like people like both of you have not been in Goa the old days, but both sides of the Panjim Miramar road were fields. Were 100% fields.
Right.
From to the eye to where the eye could see. So how are we going to replace that? As you
Right.
rightly said, you cannot upgrade drainage when the catchment area is gone.
Right.
So I really would not know. People like us may not have the answers. But how do you solve this problem?
Correct.
It's a major crisis. It's about your ODPs. It's about construction. It's about the grab for land in Goa. I think the land use itself has to be.
Correct.
Now Miramara here is going to have DOT +7
Right.
on both sides of the road.
Correct.
So where is all that going to go? Where is the sewage going to go?
Correct. Sanjay, tell me one thing. The thing is that you see, as a political party, and you've been in different parties, you've mainly been in opposition parties.
Yeah.
One of the few who's not been on the BJP side and on the other side in the last few years. But that's an aside. But what I'm essentially asking is that, look, this is such an important issue.
Yeah.
And it is very important for political parties to take up these issues.
Yeah.
Now, while the BJP has had its MLA for a long time in Panjim, the Congress, has had some kind of a presence in this particular city.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, these are such important city issues. Don't you think that even as a political party, nobody takes up these issues with seriousness during elections?
So I'm sorry for all Goans that I can't speak English properly.
Please
so
speak in Congress.
yeah. So what happened? At present, जे स्मार्ट सिटी बद्दल उलयतात आमी आयज द ODP प्लॅन मोस्टली सिनियर टाउन प्लॅनर ऑफ गोवा एंड हांव उलयता गोंयच म्हापशेंच आमचो पणजेचो लोकल MLA. पणजी पयलीं कशी आसली ड्युरींग द टायम ऑफ पोर्तुगीज आनी आतां पणजी कशी आसा. सो तेन्ना उदक भरनासलें आता जे ODPचे प्लॅन हाय स्क्रॅपर्स बिल्डिंग जे आहेत पाट्याचेर घातलेली आसा, व्हडली व्हडली बिल्डिंग 10 मजली 8 मजली बिल्डिंग काडटा. रिजल्ट कितें जाता, आमचे लो लायंग फिल्ड्स आसा कंप्लीट, दर्या आमचे कुशीक आसा, दर्याची लेवल कंप्लीट वाडत आसा. वाडत असल्या कारणान उदकाचो जे आमचे पणजे शहरान पावस जो पडटा, आदी पडटालो 25 वर्सां पयलीं 50 वर्सां पयलीं पावस पडटालो, तो पावस आनी आतांचो पावस डिफरन्स कांयच ना. पूण गटरां जी आसा, गटरां भरता आनी आमचो टावन प्लॅनर कितें करता, बिल्डिंगेक जे सोक पिटां आसता किंवा सेप्टीक टँक आसता, हे उदक जे आसा न्ही जिरवणी जी म्हणटात, जिरवणी उदकान वचना, जमनीक उदक हे जायना, भितर जिराना. जिराना हेजो रिजल्ट कितें जाता, ओवरफ्लो जाता. आनी जे ODP जो आमी जो म्हणटा ODP एक्चुअली ODP म्हणजे कांयच ना. ODP पोर्तुगीज आमच्या आदी बिल्डिंग बांदताल्यो, पोर्तुगीज तुमी स्ट्रक्चर पयला आसतले, पोर्तुगीज टायमाच्यो ज्यो बिल्डिंग्यो व्हडली स्क्रायप बिल्डिंग नासतली. गोवाची आमची कशी आसा, गोवाची लँड जी आसा न्ही, आतां बॉम्बेची लँड, बॉम्बे एक्चुअली बॉम्बे कशें आसा, सगळे उदकान हार्बरान भरलेले आसा, ते बिल्डिंग बांदतात. पण आयज पोजिशन तशेंच आसा. आमचो गव्हर्मेंट ऑफ गोवा कितें करता, आयचे परिस्थितीन बिल्डिंग व्हडले बांदले काय ना, तांकां गव्हर्मेंटाक पयसो येवपाक जाय, इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर जो आसा तेजेसून पयसो तयार करता. आनी पणजीचे आमच्या शहराक न्हू, पणजी शहर एक्चुअली व्हडल्यो बिल्डिंग बांदपाची गरजूच ना, 2 मजली 3 बिल्डिंग बांदले काय ना, तो प्रॉब्लेम जाता. So ODP is the main responsible. ODP ग्रीन कलर, पाचवो कलर ग्रीन हेका पडटा, पूण ब्ल्यू कलर घातलो काय ना, हांगालो MLA जो आसा, हांव कोणाचे क्रिटिसायज करिना, कोणी जावं तो, आमच्या फ्युचरा बद्दल, आमचे विजनरी गोंया बद्दल जी कितें आसा, पणजी शहर 50 वर्सांनी कशें आसपाक जाय, हे ODP आउटलँड डेव्हलपमेंट प्लॅन हो सिनियर टावन प्लॅनर शिकलेले असतात. रिजल्ट कितें जाता, खंयचो MLA, खंयचो मिनिस्टर तेका टावन प्लॅनराचे हेतून डायरेक्टर म्हणून बसता आणि व्हडले बिल्डिंगचे FSI दिता. तो रिजल्ट कितें जाता, हे आयज ओवरफ्लो उदीक जाता आणि आमचे बिल्डिंग सगळे फ्लडिंग जाता.
This haphazard construction and changing of zones which allows higher FIR.
And for what?
Correct.
My point is for what?
Correct.
I know builders who go with their suitcases to Ludhiana, to Lucknow, to Allahabad in a desperation to sell the built-up areas. It's not that the sales are flying in Goa. It's not.
Right.
There's a recessionary trend in the real estate market.
Even there's a lot of empty inventory.
Lot of empty inventory.
Right.
And so why are you doing that? We Goans are virtually thrown out of that market itself.
Correct. Vishal, you had a quick point to make. Yes.
Yeah, I completely agree about the planning process. Now so many ODPs have been thrown out. Okay. So for the Talegaon ODP also, our basic question was, what is this ODP based on? If you're going to plan, there has to be some baseline studies. What is the carrying capacity of the area? What is how much water capacity is there? How much low-lying area is there?
Right.
What is the biodiversity around? You know, how much traffic you can carry? What is the projected increase in population?
That's true. Correct.
You know, how will the matching services like sewerage, electricity, parking, mobility, how will that? There is zero study on which this is based. What is it based on then? It's about just creating a concrete jungle.
Correct.
And creating like real estate markets. Now later they might flood and the buildings will be, and like how we have seen in all cities.
Correct.
You know,
Correct. So you're saying it is not only a climatic change, but it's also man-made change which is leading to floods. Correct.
Yeah, based on no studies, no surveys, no planning has been done, and then scientific data. We are in a city, we have National Institute of Oceanography in the same city.
That's right, correct.
We have the best expertise, engineers, scientists are there. They can tell you about the predictions of climate change. You know, there is that is not factored in at all. So if you make a plan without any basis, any study, any projection, any mapping, then and it's the only way is to just grab land and create like concrete jungles, then you're definitely going to, and it's a very narrow-minded thing. You make a quick buck and run away, let the people who are staying in the buildings drown. You know, who cares?
Correct.
Pato is sinking. Pato, the land is actually sinking. It's
And
measurable.
I believe they're making another Pato number 2 on that Ponda highway. Huh?
Yeah, so this is
But that's also on marshy land, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So all the Goa's real estate built up area is already saturated. What is left, which originally was not built? What was not originally built was the low-lying areas.
Right.
They were the flood plains. They were the marshlands. So nobody wisely built hill slopes and mud plains. Now they are attacking those vulnerable areas, right? So, And what happens as you concretize, the ability of the soil to soak water is reduced. There's more greater runoff.
Right.
Greater runoff means greater landslides, greater siltation of the water channels. So it's a what you call a feedback loop. One problem increases the other and increases the other, and it's just the
Yeah, what is interesting is that the level of rainfalls is not going up too much, but the level of flooding is going up.
and rainfall will be more stronger in a shorter period of time, what you call like
Yes.
flash floods.
Correct.
You know, that is because of climate change, because there's greater evaporation, the earth is heating up, greater evaporation, and all that rain is dumped in a short period of time instead of being spread over.
Right.
You know, and affects everything, agriculture. You know, so what Arman is talking about, the fields which are not there and what are there have become ponds. You know, last year we had gone boating in that. You know, so that's what we can maybe think of a Venice in Panjim. Yes.
Chandan, tell us that where are we going wrong as far as our drainage and sewage is concerned? Is rampant construction, the manner in which construction is going up, the increasing FARs with more buildings, how is it actually affecting the drainage system and thereby affecting the flood situation?
The drainage system mainly affected because they are using, the contractors are using the material, third class materials. First of all, cement and the concrete mixing on the top of that, and even side parapet walls and drainage, they are not using that proper this thing. Portion 124, 136, 148, whatever.
Right.
And this reinforcement also for the using for this thing, top of that this thing, that also not proper. If any vehicle also sideways, they did crack, and immediately the all line, you can check it, that you will be coming to know that it's side drainages are on top of that cover and all. So we should be checked that contractors should be punished. Such this one should not be given to like that contractor. Good contractors should be given.
No, you are also mentioning that the point is because of the high-rise buildings that are there right now. What really happens is when these high-rises are at play, and you have more and more flats coming in, that also leads to an increase in the sewerage spill-off.
Yeah.
Which ultimately gets into the network and chokes. So if you can tell us a little bit more
Accordingly,
about
that system of drainage system should be modified, or it should be some width and that depth and also should be increased. And that is why it is especially what he said, that some bubbles and these things and some H material, it may fall in that, in a block. Suppose the drainage is going to be blocked in the middle, that this will not pass through properly and it will be blocked, that this thing, drainage system.
Vishal, your quick take on this.
Yeah, so what he's saying is, you know, now the mandate is, if you have a building society above 30 flats or so, I might be corrected on that, it requires to have its own sewage treatment system.
Right.
So when you go to look at a flat, you look at the room.
Right.
You know, you look at your views, you know, balcony, whatever. You are not going down to the building and inspecting whether they have a adequate sewage management system.
Yes,
that
yes.
is not somebody, a layperson can
Would
examine.
look at. Correct.
So we have looked at some of the building societies in Talegaon which were responsible. They had inadequate sewage treatment system. So see, centralizing sewage treatment is a problem. Right now we have only one sewage treatment plant in North Goa, and all of those from the tourist belt, those suction.
You're talking about the Talegaon plant.
Yeah, in the Tonka, which is
Tonka plant.
Panjim and Talegaon.
Yes.
Talegaon is not yet connected with sewerage networks. And the maximum number of housing societies have come into Talegaon. I think Talegaon population has overtaken Panjim's.
Right.
And so with so much population and not having, Panjim got its sewerage network in the 80s, I think, right? And now in 2022, with greater population, Talegaon does not have, or it's lagging behind, or it's not done with the speed it should have been. Right, so it really compounds the problem of then this sewage making into the fields, and this is like where the food is grown, and
I'll just lead you into that. I was coming to that actually. A quick a point here. See, the Talegaon, the sewerage project, the new 15 MLD Talegaon sewerage project, that was commissioned in 2017. That was mainly meant for the 10 sewerage wards of Panjim, correct? Now, out of the 10 sewerage wards, has the sewage system of Panjim been connected to the Talegaon STP?
Because we take students there for a tour of how waste management happens in the city, what I was shown is that the Talegaon sewage treatment plant is not being used for Talegaon.
Right.
but it is the Panjim sewage which is being treated through that. That is so that they can test that system.
Right.
And so that's performing optimally, and there's in a service period contract, so they need to verify that.
Right.
So right now there is, and these are they told us they are planned for greater capacity for future. So they are well designed and they are working off.
Yeah, the plant itself is very
It's still
good.
working.
Yes.
But there is no connection. You know, the pipelines from Talegaon have been laid or are still being laid, and every now and then the roads are dug up, and it's a slow process. It is not being connected. And meanwhile, the buildings which are just waiting for if and then to happen, they are not doing the operating their own sewage treatment system, which they should, right? So that is creating, along with flooding, sewage. That means it's waterborne diseases, it's causing pain to the farmers, and it's a stinking mess. We have seen bloated bodies of like turtles and fishes and snakes, floating on that Santines Creek whenever the rains come, because the water becomes jet black and stinking. It's a mess. It is really frightening. And the people who stay in those adjoining areas, which are vote banks, this is how their vote is manipulated. This is the shitty conditions they have to live in. This is really sad.
You were also mentioning the seepage of sewage into fields. Is it because raw sewage is actually dumped into the creek, which ultimately is flowing into the paddy fields or other fields?
See, the Talegaon water table is so high that the fields, they get the irrigation by digging a small well, just 2 meters, right? The ondos. Now these onds, like they are overflowing right now because of the monsoon. And what is the sewage system? There's a soak pit, right?
Yes.
Yes. But there can be no soaking happening if the ground is already saturated with water. So those systems don't work. So, and it's low lying. So, it's completely inadequate. They have to have their own STPs, or they have to have what are compost toilets, non-flush toilets. So again, the smart cities and all are supposed to bring in these ideas of how to manage our toilet waste in a modern way by evolving toilet designs.
Right.
But that, that's really
that's
level,
a larger issue.
But
what I'm saying is that when you call a city smart, there has to be a more holistic approach to it.
Absolutely.
Rather than getting into, we will get into one areas, we will not have the Santines Creek as part of the smart city project. That itself was completely baffling.
Absolutely.
You can't have a smart city project without having the Santines Creek, because obviously somebody wanted to have it as a separate runoff project. And we are none the wiser as to whether the Santines Creek at all is part of the whole project or not.
Correct.
And I'll also point out one very interesting point. In a few years ago, it was suddenly realized that the smart city project had 120 crores of unutilized funds given by Amrut for sewerage. Now those 120 crores was passed on to the PWD for a very modern sewerage treatment, out of which 108 crores would come from the Amrut funds and the remaining would come from the state government, from the smart city funds. Okay. The point remains is that what happened to those? We are all talking about sewerage. We are saying that so much of money is there, 112 crores. How is that? See, there has to be some accountability on the money that you are spending every year. We are making some very important points, but we also need to see where that money goes. Correct. This 120 crores, where has that money gone?
Correct. So what you said it perfectly. There is the money, there is the expertise, there is the know-how, and there is the smart city which is supposed to execute all this.
Yes.
Then why does it not get done?
Correct.
That's the big hanging question.
There is no will.
Yeah, I'll just come to you, Sanjay. One important point. I'll just bring in Armand on this. See, another point that I really wanted to talk about is that the multiplicity of various agencies working at cross purposes. That anybody of you are free to respond. If you look at this whole road digging, why is a road dug 3 to 4 times? You will have the power department getting into it. You have the telephone department getting into it. You have the big conglomerates like Geo and others coming in also wanting to getting into it. All maybe for the right reasons. And you all can come into it. The same road is dug 3 times. The project is tendered 3 times. Money is spent and received 3 times. And what we face is dug roads all over the place, and the digging is not stopped till the rains come in, and that leads to the further flooding.
I think it's so obvious. I think the more the contracts, the more the kickbacks. I think that's exactly where the answer is. I don't think we don't have the wisdom. We Indians have led situations across the globe.
No, you can dig the road once, have all the utilities laid and log the road for good.
Exactly. But let me also come back to the point of the Santinis Creek. I don't know whether Vishal is aware of this, but in official government communication, and as per their records, it's not known as a creek. It is known as a nalla. I think you and me were part and parcel of one discussion at that time. It's known as a nalla, and elected representatives have insisted that it's not a creek, it's a nalla.
But why so?
I really wouldn't know. I mean, that's a question we like to throw to the people, because a lot, even the newspapers, nalla, 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 nalla. So we were insisting it's not a nalla. It's a tidal action waterway. It cannot be nalla. Nalla is a one way. It's a drain. It's a stream.
Arman, we have even gone with boats and canoes there. We have seen presence of mangroves there.
Precisely.
It's a creek which is with tidal action. It's not a man-made thing.
No, but the point is, since we are on the Santinas Creek, we'll just take 2 minutes on this.
Yeah.
The issue is that the Santinas Creek, whether or not it is linked to the smart city project or not, my point is that why is it taking so many years to get its act together? My point is, first, the whole thing of desilting needs to be done, cleaning has to be done. I'm saying, where are we going wrong? Why are we going slow on this?
Yeah, see, now a lot of work has happened recently on this, and it's shocking that the creek has been reduced to half its size in places. Right. So again, you are squeezing it to its as narrow as it can. Again, because huge real estate is coming along the banks of the creek. Right. So for that kind of development, you need a access road. And that has to be a certain width. Right. How do you create that width? By squeezing in the creek. Now, if you squeeze in the creek, where will the water go? It will flood. So it is like we're just waiting for disasters like in Bombay and Hyderabad and Chennai. We have seen we are building the path towards that disaster.
Next point is that everybody is throwing the waste material in the creek. Side that all the flat dwellers and those who are staying in the residence, some night and all they are dumping everything in the creek. That also will make a very damage for the water flow.
In fact, with all these cameras that they're putting across Goa.
I was getting to Sanjay
coming on that.
These
cameras should be used to actually catch people like us. I'm not saying we do that or I do that. But we citizens are also part and parcel of this mess. You throw the stuff, you go to say a place like Gujarat Lodge. People don't just fling things there. They have put 3-4 garbage units there.
But they're always overflowing.
Overflowing, it's in the gutter. So when you say that the drains are getting clogged, it is our fault as well.
Our fault only that
government is at fault. The whole system is at
fixed to find out that this.
Sanjay, one point. Okay, please make a point.
Just now we are discussing on Nala and creeks. So अख्ख्या गोंयकारांक एक मेसेज नाला आनी क्रीक थंय एक हॉटेल आसा हॉटेल I don't want to take his name which hotel it is. So CRZ rules ताका लागता हॉटेलाक ते नाला क्रीक केला. सो कोणी जाव गोंया बद्दल चिंतता आसतना आमकां आई बाबान जन्म दिला आमच्या घराचे फुडले पिढी फुडें व्हरपाक. तशेंच पणजीची सिटी कशी फुडें व्हरपाक जाय तो टावन प्लॅनर Mayor, Chairperson, Chief Officer, Administration of Government of Goa, they are responsible. Because कित्याक न्हू ते आतांचो एक दीस सांबाळटा गोंयकारांक एका मनशाक लागून पेंजीम सिटी हे जाता पिड्ड्यार जाता. एटमॉस्फियर पणजेचो आसा न्ही कोणाक लागून पिड्ड्यार जाता कन्सर्निंग एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन जे आसा न्हू ते नाला क्रीक करतात. दादल्या मनशाक बायल म्हणू शकना बायला नाला सांगता. सो जबाबदार कोण आमी गोंयचे लोक दोळे बंद करता आनी ओगी रावता. पीपल शूड कम आउट. तो कोणी असो प्रायम मिनिस्टर असो कोणी असो कायदो हो कायदो नो वन इज बिगर दॅन लॉ. सो हांगा कितें जाता आमी गोंयकार ओगी रावतात गोंयकारांनी भायर सरपाक जाय तो कोणी असो ताका लागून पणजी सिटी जे नाला क्रीक करता क्रिकाक नाला जो म्हणटा ते हॉटेलकाराक लागून खंयचे हॉटेल आधी जर असे जर कायदे जर पोर्तुगीज टायमार लोक भियातालो कायद्याक आतां कायदे आपणाक जाय तशे बदलता म्हणून हे गोंय आमचे बदलता.
Fortunately, the media has been very good. I don't think I've seen the word nala anymore in the media. They are all calling it the creek. So at least that we have achieved.
Right. Okay. Sanjay, just sticking with you right now. See, now let us look into this whole aspect or allegations of corruption in the smart city project. Okay. Now, the smart city project, it seems, is more about it's become a beautification project rather than a city regeneration project. I mean, people are talking about bicycling. I'm not saying they shouldn't be done. But the entire success of the smart city projects appears to be, according to the developers, building of bicycle lanes, building of jogging tracks, and this whole thing of CCTV cameras.
Yeah.
Now you have kind of looked a little bit into this. Where exactly has this money gone? How much of money has actually been spent? Where are the CCTV cameras? Firstly, it shouldn't only be about CCTV cameras, but even if it is that, where is that money?
See, that money, CC cameras money, 180 crores, tenders floated. So 180 crores, I had taken my personal inspection with smart city officers. They have taken me on Kadamba area.
180 crores for how many cameras?
180 crores for whatever amount comes.
Okay.
कितले XYZ amount कितले 180 crores.
See, this again is an interesting thing. First, the amount is earmarked.
Yeah. So
without getting into what the need, without any need assessment, you come up, you imagine a particular amount.
So tenders can be.
So 180 crores of tenders without getting into the need assessment of the number of cameras. Please carry on.
Yeah. म्हारगान कॅमेरा तेंच्यांनी बसयला 1 लाखाचो. तेंच्यांनी व्हरून दाखयले म्हाका कदंबा बस स्टँडाचेर नियरली अबाउट 20-25 कॅमेरा आसा सराउंडींग. पणजे थोडे बसयल्यात, थोडे इंटरनॅशनल सेंटरात थंय व्हरून बसयल्या. अशे 40 ते 50 कॅमेरा 1 लाखाचे 1.5 लाखाचे सुमार आसा. बाकीचे 60-60 कॅमेराचे. आमी जेन्ना इन्स्पेक्शन जेन्ना स्पेशली पर्सनली केले ते म्हाका दाखोवंक शकोंक ना. पण नियरली 8 ते 10 कोटी कनेक्टिव्हिटी केबल बी धरून जर आम्ही धरी जाल्यार 8 ते 10 कोटीचे कॅमेरा बसयलेले आहा. बाकीचे 170 कोटी हे खंय गेले हे आमकां स्मार्ट सिटीचे ऑफिसर जे आसा न्ही, सकाळी आमी जर ऑफिसान जर पळोवपाक मेळपाक जर गेले इन्स्पेक्शन घेवपाक, ऑफिसर कोणूच नासता. स्टाफ नियरली अबाउट 25 ते 35 कोटी 25 ते 30 लाख म्हयन्याक सॅलरी दिता. सकाळी फुडें 4-5 स्टाफ आसता भितर. सांजचे पळोवंक गेल्यार कोणूच नासता. खंय गेले कितें केलं इन्स्पेक्शन घेवपाक ना. फक्त आमी गोंयकार तांकां स्मार्ट सिटीचे ऑफिसर्स आनी तांकां सॅलरी पे करता, कामूच काय ना.
I'm requesting you as a Congress party, you must take this up. We are with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Arman, as Sanjay was saying, with the stink of sewerage, he says that there is a stink of corruption. Have you also felt that over the years?
Absolutely.
But specifically, where do you feel that corruption is literally floating in the waters?
I think it's everywhere. We must ask the question where you don't see it. It's happening everywhere. Where it's a creek, I remember some officers came up to me and said, we have a budget of 200 crores for the Southern Creek. So why do you require 200 crores for the Southern Creek? I mean, within 10 to 20 crores, you can have an international style. Leave it to the people of Goa. Leave it to the ordinary people of Goa who've got the wisdom, who understand. I'll give you a small example. The bridge behind my home.
Right. In Kapal. Yes.
In Kapal. It was a bridge built in 1960s, flat bridge. So one day, Dr. Claude Alvarez and myself, we were going in a boat, and we could not go under that bridge because it was very low. And we saw also the steel bars hanging around, so it was about to collapse. So that came in the newspapers. We brought the media picked it up and said the bridge is holding by the thread. So in the confusion, the government said, let's have a new bridge.
Right.
Let's have a new bridge. Let's do something new. So when I spoke to the concerned authorities, I won't like to mention names. I told them, I said, let's have an international style waterway here, where you have things like Venice, people come by boats, people sing a song, you have unplugged music, and you create an international vibe.
Absolutely, correct.
So the guys assured me, no issue. And I said, one small request, have a nice curved bridge, which will enable all of us to go through it, and then you can have this thing repeated across. You won't believe, when the work started, I just happened to ask them, can I have a look at the plans? Just happened to ask them. He said, Arman, your work is done. And I go to see the bridge is repeated. Same bridge in the flat panel. Now, credit to certain officers in that organization, where they looked at each other and said, Arman is right. And they took 3 months more, redesigned the bridge and built it up.
Right.
Now, is that my job? My question is that a job for an individual to have a look? Because I'm there, I'm concerned, yes.
Right.
You are concerned, they're not concerned. But this should be the wisdom that comes out of governments. And governments are not interested. Their only interest is how they can make quick bucks.
Right.
A minister enters his chair and he's not bothered to see what he can do. He's more interested in how much he can put in his pocket. So this whole system is corrupted. I have given up business. I've given up business because corruption is so endemic right now. You cannot do a business without paying someone. And we come from the old school and say, thank you for the business. Thank you for the opportunity of business. We are sitting down, we are enjoying the life that we have made. So we need a change, and that's where the Congress party has a big role to play. The biggest disappointment in this country is the state of the Congress. I'm sorry, I'm bringing up a political issue. I know congressmen, I know Congress presidents, and all these people, and they know that we love them. However, the Congress party has failed. It's time that we do something about it. Otherwise, this is going to run through. All of us are going to be finished.
No,
So it's a process, yes.
Congress party is not failed. We are here now. We are new generation.
Yes,
We'll take
we
issue
wish you
of
the
Goa.
best. We wish you the best.
No, which is why there's hope, because if there was no hope, why would we be talking?
Yeah.
I mean,
We wish you all the best. I'm
Yes,
not
thank you.
criticizing.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to show you what's happening.
Yes, thank you.
But you know, this whole topic that we had earlier about this multiplicity of different agencies. You know, you have the power department, the sewerage department, the underground cabling department, and so on and so forth. Now, with all these agencies working at cross purposes in the city, how does planning get affected?
That is that we have to study that. Actually, it is all together, all the departments that we have to in coordination with that we have to study.
No, but what I'm essentially getting at is, do you feel that there is a difference in the way the departments are working now and the time that when you spent in the government, in the sense that, see, if you, for instance, you were in the PWD and in the soil conservation, okay, you had a fixed role to do. When you know, as PWD, I'm sure you all did much more work smoothly without all the other multiple agencies coming in. Now what happens is, when you're working on a road, that road is not entirely yours. You have different agencies laying claim to that particular road.
See, that when I was joined in 1973, there was no corruption at all.
Right.
Everybody was free, happy, whatever any persons comes, and we used to work freely. Afterwards, slowly, corruption increased. From the peon to the top officer up to the chief engineer, everywhere corruption is there. In PWD, especially PWD and water resources, all the department, ministers and these things, we have to tender amount 10 to 20% in between. That amount we have to give to the ministers to approval of the tender.
Okay. Now, before we kind of close in, we are kind of getting close to the finishing line of this particular debate. In the last round, we will address something that all of you have touched upon very nicely and very importantly. Is perhaps it's time to go back to the old rather than look at the new. In the sense that look at the way Goa was, or look at the way Panjim was, the kind of systems that we have, the kind of simplicity that we had, and how we looked at what nature blessed us with. The whole issue of the buns, the Kazan lands, all these were part of our ecosystem, which actually helped in the whole issue of regeneration,
the farmers
ensuring that our systems were perfect, the rainwater was properly utilized, our fields were completely rich with natural water and all that. So there is something to be said about going back to the past and reviving and certain aspects of our ecosystem that were completely prevalent. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
That is for that. No, if it is farmers, or for farmers that you should call for the meeting, then we have to discuss with them, we have to teach them, guide them. And that systems, earlier systems used to do like that. Even agriculture department, even PWD, they used to call for every month and every once in 6 months, or we used to call for the meeting with the publics and whatever were connected with that. Now the system is at all, it's not there. If it is fishery department, they used to call this thing. Those who are interested to do the fishing the jobs and all.
Right.
In agriculture also like that only. Now the system is to be reintroduced.
Right. Arman, quick last word.
Yeah, since you were talking about going back to the past, you know, I have a very original line which goes like this: just because your mother is beautiful, will you become her pimp? So my very simple question is: are we pimping Goa? Goa is a beautiful place. We are pimping Goa. We have to go into our depths to understand what we are up to. Are we living a Goa which is good for our future, for our children, or we are just selfish? I think that's where the problem is, because everyone has thrown his hands up in the air. No one believes that something good can come out of this. We have to get down to that. All engineering, architecture, all comes from there. We have to clean our hearts and we have to search ourselves to understand that we are seriously making a mistake here. And only when that change comes up, we will be able to see a paradigm shift. And for that, the youth is important. The youth is very important. People like us are there. It is a nice way. I put it in a nice way. I do consider my generation part of a failed generation. I might not have failed personally, but as a generation we have failed. But even when a generation fails, we need to pass the baton properly. And even if you don't pass the baton properly, you will lose the baton. So it's time that passing of the baton has to be done properly. It's all in the heart, it's in the spirit. And we need to get it right there.
Sanjay Bhatte, in your own words, how do you think we have a lot to learn from the past and where are we failing?
येस, ज्या गोंयकाराच्या घरान 80 वर्साचे 85 वर्साचे कोण जाणटे आसात, ग्रँडफादर आसा, तेंचे आज नातू आसतले, म्हणजे तेचे भुरगे आसतले, कोणाचे ल्हान भुरगे आसतले, तेंच्यांनी जाणट्यांनी गोंय आमचे पयलीं कशें आसलें, हाव बिफोर गोवा वॉच, तांकां एक्सपिरियन्स आसतलो 80 वर्साचे घरान आयज कोण आसा तांकां, तेंच्यांनी आपले सगळे भुरग्यांक वाड्यावयले जाणटे कोण एका वाड्यार एकठांय करपाचे, वॉर्ड वायज जे आसात पंचायत वॉर्ड वायज जाणटे कोणा तेंची एक मिटींग घेवपाची, गोंय आमचे पयलीं कशें आसलें तांकां आयज धडो दिवपाचो, आमचे गोंय अशें आसलें आयज अशें आमचे गोंयांत दवरपाक जाय, ही जी मॅसेज आमी दीत आमच्या भुरग्यांक, यंग जनरेशन जे आसात भुरगे, खूब भुरगे आमचे बरे IIT शिकतात, इंजिनियर आसात, कोण बरे शिकलेले एडवोकेट्स आसा, तेंच्यांनी ग्रूप तयार करपाक जाय आनी गव्हर्मेंट जो कितें करता, ODP प्लॅनान कितें करता, वायट करता, हे आमचे गोंय फुडें कितें पिड्ड्यार जावंक फावना म्हणून, दिल्लीसून कोण येतलो हांगा ब्रिज बांद म्हणटलो, तशें करूंक दिवंक फावना. सपोज ब्रिज बांदले म्हणून इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर जायना, डेव्हलपमेंट जायना, जे आमचे गोंय पयलीं आसले, आमचे आतां पयस जाल्यार गोंयांत आदी आमचे फॉरेनर खूब येताले भायले, आयज पळोवंक गेल्यार फॉरेनर कोण ना, इंडियन टुरिस्ट येतात, ते येतात सोरो येतात, पिड्ड्यार करता गोंय आमचे, पूण भायले टुरिस्ट आमचे कित्याक लागून येना, आयचे हॉनरेबल चीफ मिनिस्टरान हेजेर स्टडी करपाक जाय, आमकां भायले टुरिस्ट येत जाल्यार आमची मेसेज कशी वयता, हांव गोवा वच पयलीं, आनी आतां पळयत जाल्यार इंटरनेटाचेर गोंयान कितें मेळटा, कजिनोन कितें मेळटा, हो आमचो गोंयचो सरकार सांगता, कजिनोन तुका पयशे येता म्हणून रेव्हेन्यू येता म्हणून गव्हर्मेंट ऑफ गोवान भायले पिड्ड्यार करूंक फावना, गोंयची संस्कृती पोर्तुगीजान कशी दवरलेली न्ही, तीच संस्कृती आमी जर गोंयान मेंटेन करीत जाल्यार गोंय आमचें बरें उरतलें. पणजी स्मार्ट सिटीच्या हितून जर उलोवंक गेले जाल्यार पणजी स्मार्ट ना, फक्त मार्ट सिटी उरला, हेच काढा तुम्ही फक्त मार्ट सिटी, आणि लास्टाक उरता आर्ट, ART, आर्ट हाडपाचो आनी गोंया बद्दल बरे डिझायन दिवपाक जाय म्हणून मागता.
Very, very important points that Sanjay has raised. Vishal, your last words on this subject today.
See, in the last few years, we have stood shoulder to shoulder with farmers in Talegaon. The youth have participated in, activism on the ground. The Save Mole campaign, the saving of the Talegaon fields, and youth and the local people, the farmers, the fisher folk, the Naushi issue. We have seen a lot of youth leaders, we have seen common citizens, we have seen the intellectual fraternity, the scientists, the experts in environment. We have Elsa Fernandez who is guiding youth, we have Talula De Silva who is guiding youth, we have youth leaders like Cecil Rodriguez. They have all stood for the right cause, they have recognized Goa for what it is, and Goa has seen a series of protests, waves and waves of protests, right? And finally we have had to go to court, and the court has given us the judgment in our favor, like for at least in the Mole case.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, and so it's a very tough fight because there is governance is completely off the rails, and there is no alternative in terms of any viable opposition, or if there is, they are bought over. So it is citizens and common folk who have stood together, and they have shown that they really care about Goa, and they have brought all the issues to the fore. The media has given that support, and I hope that this generation carries that struggle forward, because we have learned from the Nylon 66, the Konkani language issue,
that's right,
and all those issues. People have fought to make this land what it is, and the struggle has to continue.
Yes. Well, we have actually completely run out of time, but I think this has been an absolutely riveting discussion. We'll just end with one underlying thought. You see, the thing is, from time immemorial, we've always seen this, that across this country and even otherwise, there is something called the wisdom of the crowd, as Arman said, and in different villages across India, and we are essentially a rural economy. The best teacher and the most knowledgeable teacher used to be a couple of wise men and women in the village, and the wisdom of the wise man was really understood and felt and respected. In many ways, Goa needs to go back to the wisdom of that wise man in every village and across villages and smaller towns, because the intrinsic local indigenous language and expertise is now being replaced by highly paid consultants who are completely, extracting money out of the state exchequer, which is our money. So instead of taking our knowledge, the system is taking our money and giving it to people who may be experts in terms of their degrees and otherwise, but are not the wise men of the village. And ultimately, we are not saying that they are bad people or it's incorrect for them to be here. Maybe they can help, but they can only help in giving certain technical advice and other advice to streamline the intrinsic process of development that every city or every village needs. But what a city needs and how it needs to move forward is something that should come completely from the local people. Now, the people who should be doing that are our elected representatives, because they are representatives of ours and they are there to actually serve us and consult us. Now, when their loyalties move from the people to different consultants and others, who ultimately there's a transactional kind of a relationship there. When the relationship becomes transactional and not cohesive and completely dynamic and organic, this is what happens. So I think we need to look into the whole relationship of governance that we have, where the common people are getting more and more out of the system and it's being replaced by projects and consultants and PPTs and so on and so forth, because of which you still have sewerage getting into your fields, you still have huge amounts of flooding, you still have people suffering, you would still have villages going under, fields getting completely destroyed, and so on and so forth. Construction debris all over the place. Our bund system have completely collapsed. Our sluice gates mechanisms don't work. So, and we could go on and on and on. But I think let's leave it at that right now. We will end with the fact that to look at a better future for our children, let us go back to the past. On this very somber note, I'll end this. I thank all my panelists for their deep, incisive comments, and which has made this into such a good discussion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.